Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be covering the second lesson from Czerny's Piano-Forte School Opus 500. So, let's get right into it. I'm going to try and keep this one a bit shorter than the last one. The last one went on for so long and I really spent a lot of time rambling, so I'm going to try and limit that. Okay, so, second lesson. Primary finger exercises and further rules on touching or striking the keys. Rule 1. As soon as the pupil is well acquainted with the keys, the master must teach him to play by heart the following exercises. So the first set of exercises is for the right hand alone. So we can see here at the beginning we have, obviously this is going to be taught by the master, and because the pupil can't read sheet music at this point, so these exercises are to be taught just at the keyboard. So here I'll play the exercises. And that would repeat as many times as is necessary. And he writes, each example must be repeated from 10 to 20 times without intermission. Rule 2. During the practice of these exercises, the teacher must gradually explain to the pupil the following additional rules on the position of the fingers and on striking the keys, taking care that he observes them practically. Alright, so here are the rules. If we hold the 5 fingers properly bent quite close over the 5 keys, C, D, E, F, and G, we shall perceive that 1 finger only is given to each key. The 5 fingers must therefore be kept so far apart from one another that each finger, when the hand is at rest, may strike its own key exactly in the middle. For this purpose, the thumb must be extended in an exactly straight line and the little finger be but a little bent. The end of the thumb must always reach to the middle of the 4 or broad part of the white key and never strike it near to its outer end. For the percussion on the white key should always be made on the surface of the keys by all the fingers and nearly in the middle of that part. They must never be struck near the extreme end nor on the small narrow portion included between the black keys. That's a lot of words to say. Play the white key in the middle, and I talked about this the last one, so I won't go too long, but just play the white key in the middle, not in between the black keys, and not on the outer edge. So not in here, not out here, but to play it in the middle here. It's a good piece of advice. When you are dealing with more complicated rep, then the middle in between the black keys is sometimes where you're going to be playing it. But yeah, you usually want to avoid playing the outer edge. But yeah. Okay, so moving on. This position of all the 5 fingers must always remain the same when in the preceding exercises. Any finger strikes its proper key. Always remain the same. Yeah, okay. As each finger previous to its being used must be held very near to its key without, however, touching it. So after the stroke, it must again return to its previous situation. Okay. So each finger, before it's previous to it being used, must be held very near to its key without, however, touching it. I don't agree with this. I think I understand what he's talking about here. He's kind of saying that the key that's being played, like in the exercise, the other fingers are held near the key but not touching it, that's gonna create tension. So I think the fingers need to relax on the key. They do need to touch the key. Maybe I'm reading this wrong, but I think the fingers just rest on the key. And that's better than keeping them up. If you keep them up, I feel like that's gonna create, I feel a tightness in the elbow. Like, I feel like that's not a good idea. So yeah, I don't know what he's talking about here, or if I agree. Okay, rule 6, principal rule. Each finger must be lifted up exactly at the same moment in which the next finger strikes its key. So what he's explaining here is actually just legato, so playing the keys legato. So the exercises must be played, and he's right, it's a principal rule. It's very important actually. To do the exercises successfully, you must do them in this way. So you play the key, and the finger must be lifted at exactly the same moment in which the next finger plays the key. So that finger is down, the thumb, and then the second finger, and the thumb comes up straight away. And the third, and the second comes up. And the fourth and the third comes up. Fifth and the fourth comes up. Like this. It has to be exactly at that moment. And so I'll do it wrong so you can see. So there's 2 ways to do this wrong, which is overlapping, is not lifting the fingers up after they've played, and playing too short is not what he wants. So those are the 2 ways to get that wrong, but it has to be exactly at the right time. Okay. Rule 7. In the first exercise intended only for 2 fingers, the thumb must quit the C at the very same moment that the first finger strikes the D, which in its turn must be quitted at the same moment that the thumb strikes the C. Yeah, so that's what I was just talking about in the context of in the first exercise. Okay. The same thing takes place in the second exercises with the 3 fingers, and then with the 4, and lastly with the 5 fingers. So that the weight of the hand always rests on the keys, but on one finger only, while the rest are poised in the air. Yeah, so he's still going on about this previous rule that he said about, the weight is on one finger, and the rest are lifted, but I don't know if that's, I don't think so. I feel like the fingers can all be on the keys, but the weight is on the thumb here, but these fingers are not, I'm not acting, because to lift them in the air is actually requiring some sort of muscular movement, so it's gonna tire them out a lot faster than if you relax them against the key. So I don't know if I agree with him there. I feel like it's not practical to do that. Okay, anyway, next, what follows will serve to explain to the pupil the reasons of this principal rule. 2 or more immediately contiguous keys, when struck together, produce a very disagreeable and dissonant effect, while if the same keys are struck one after another, they will sound agreeably enough. So exactly this doesn't sound good, but this sounds fine. So that's what he's talking about. Now, as all the strings belonging to any key continue to sound long after it is struck, if the keys be kept down, by holding the contiguous keys too long, a very unpleasant discordance will arise, which may be avoided by attending to the foregoing principal rule. The 5th exercise has for its aim to accustom the beginner to a firm touch and tone, and he must strike one key several times successively with the same finger. The hand must here be held as tranquilly as possible over the 5 keys, so that the reiterated percussion may be produced by the quiet movement of the single finger. He's talking about the repeated note exercise. In this exercise, the beginner must accustom himself to a moderately strong touch, so as to press down the keys firmly. He will naturally practice it at first very slow, accelerating the movement by degrees, as the flexibility of the fingers depends itself and without any strain upon the nerves. As soon as the fingers of the right hand have had some practice and acquired some degree of independence, the same examples must be tried by the left hand in the following manner. So the same exercises now, we're doing it in the left hand. So first exercises for the left hand. We've got the fingering here on C and D. It's interesting the way he does it. So the second finger, the pointer finger is given the fingering number 1, and the thumb is the plus. So we have that here. Alright, and then the repeated note exercise. Okay, all the rules given for the right hand must be applied with equal strictness to the left, and above all, the adroitness of the left hand must always keep pace with that of the right. When this is accomplished, the above exercises should be practiced with both hands in the following manner. I like what he says there is that the left hand must always keep pace with the right. You know, a lot of people always say they have their left side weakness, you know, that sort of thing. But he's kind of talking about that. He's saying like, well, practice those left hand exercises, make sure that they're getting as good as the right hand. Okay, so we have both hands together now. Okay, no problems. Here, the pupil must chiefly observe that each note in both hands is struck exactly together. This on the pianoforte is not easy to do, for though the stroke of the hammer against the wires is effected with extreme rapidity, its return is somewhat slower, and the smallest keeping back of the blow in either hand is directly felt, and by it the necessary equality is lost. Here he's actually talking about, and it doesn't really apply to a modern piano, but it definitely applies to the pianoforte of their time, and probably the instrument he's talking about is a Viennese forte piano, which does not have double escapement. So that means that when you play those repeated note exercises, he's saying the attack is very quick. So when we play the key, it's very quick. The key hits the wire, the string, it hits the string very quick. And then when it falls back down, he says, so the hands are struck. This is not easy to do, though the stroke of the hammer against the strings is effected with extreme rapidity. It goes very fast. Its return, the fall back down, is slower. So you have to lift the fingers. You play the key, but you need to make sure the fingers come off the key very quickly so that they can play the key again. Because otherwise, you're gonna slow down and get stuck on those pianos. On these pianos, it's not such a problem because you can play the key within the key. You know, you don't have to fully let the key come up. You can play it again. So if I demonstrate here, for example, I'll play the key, and you can. Geez, mine is maybe a little bit rough in that area. Yeah, so that's working. This piano needs regulation, but I'm only lifting it up about halfway. and it's playing again. So it's fine on these pianos, but on the piano he's talking about, yeah, you have to lift the key all the way to get it to play again. So he's talking about that. Okay, this equality in touch can only be acquired when both hands are kept perfectly still and all the fingers held up equally high, for those fingers which are removed farther from the keys than the rest of which are held with stiffness naturally strike later, by which the perfect equality of the blow is destroyed. Okay, that's a little bit of a complicated set of words. Okay, rule 16. All these exercises must be practiced over daily and patiently, at least 3 or 4 times each time for about half an hour, so that the pupil may be able to play them with tolerable quickness while he proceeds to the following subjects. The continuation and multiplication of these exercises will follow in the 4th lesson. Okay, so that's it. That's the 2nd lesson, but let's talk a little bit about what he just said there. I would never tell a student to practice those exercises daily for 30 minutes. But why not? You know, if you want to, you could do them for 30 minutes, 3 to 4 times, go through all the exercises 3 or 4 times. That's, you know, if you're a beginner, I think that would be good for you, because you'll definitely you'll get a lot out of that, but you'll also get a lot of boredom out of that too, so good luck with that if you try that. But anyways, yeah. And then he says, you know, you need to keep practicing the exercises even while we start working on the next lessons. So in your practice at home, you're still kind of going through those exercises, treat them as warm-ups, and then, do the next lessons. So, yeah, that's it. I think I'm going to leave it there for today. We'll get into the 3rd lesson very soon, and I hope you found that beneficial, and try those exercises for yourself. If you're a beginner pianist, try those exercises, yeah? I've got them on screen when we're in the parts where we're talking about it, and you can see that. So, yeah. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.